531 VI.
17 minutes past 7 o'clock for Wednesday, the 3rd of September. Kia ora, welcome to Pacific Mornings. If you're just joining us, William Terite in the driver's seat with you through until 9 a.m. Now, the government has confirmed wealthy foreign investors will be allowed to buy or build luxury homes under its new golden visa rules. Eligible buyers can purchase one property worth at least $5 million. Only about 7,000 homes across New Zealand, Aotearoa, meet that threshold, mostly in Auckland, might I add. Joining us for a reaction to this and much more is Labour's Tangi Utikere. Kia ora to you, welcome.
Kia ora, Will. Good to be with you this morning.
Likewise, good to have your company. It's hard to see how this is a bad move, if I'm honest. It's not like the everyday Kiwi like me is going to be snapping up a $5 million plus home.
Well, let's step back and have a look at this. What the government is doing, what Christopher Luxon is doing, is basically rolling out the red carpet for foreign home buyers and investors at the expense of Kiwis. What that is going to mean is that the housing market is going to be squeezed for Kiwis that want to secure their home, the first home, whether they're a home buyer, whether they're a renter, all these opportunities. And so, it's disappointing that this is where the government wants to put their focus and their priorities. You say that a lot of these homes, will be in Auckland. There are real housing issues in Tamaki Makaurau. So this is a disappointing step on the government's part.
Could you elaborate on how this will squeeze everyday Kiwis out of buying a home? Like I've stressed, it's a $5 million plus price tag.
Well, as we know, the housing market is pretty tight in terms of supply opportunities. So when we have foreign investors that are coming in because the red carpet has been rolled out by the Prime Minister, it means that nonetheless the supply opportunities are fewer than otherwise what they would be. Yes, these are large amounts of money that we're talking about, but it sends a very clear signal that this is a government that is focused on that rather than actually dealing with the important issue of housing. I mean, there are people in communities all around the country who are finding it extremely difficult to get into houses. It's a hot issue, no matter where you are, and this will just make it worse.
If we zoom out a little bit, let's say these wealthy foreign investors come to New Zealand with their deep pockets. That inherently means they're going to be pumping money into our economy too, doesn't it?
Oh, look, there are always opportunities for money to be pumped into the economy. What this government has very clearly signalled is when it comes to homes, their focus is on housing and providing housing opportunities for foreign investors, not about actually building kainga ora homes, which have been stopped in communities all around the country. So on the one hand, investment flows in many, many different ways. I mean, we heard the Prime Minister recently re-announce an announcement about investment for Amazon. These are really signals and strong signals that this is a government that is focused, rather than on the core issues of supporting our community here, on basically rolling out red carpet for foreign investors.
I don't know on this one. Is Labour just plain opposition for the sake of opposition here? Would you guys actually, say you get in at the next election, would you move to make changes in this space?
Well, the thing is this. We put that foreign buyer ban in place just prior to the international treaty obligations coming into play. So, what will be interesting is an incoming Labour government will need to look at what those international treaty obligations are, because it may actually mean that there are real limitations on undoing some of that work. But let's also be very clear that we are not happy with this move by the
Okay. With that in mind, I also just want to continue, switching tack here. We're going to talk about the Reserve Bank. The chair of the Reserve Bank, if you're still there with me, Neil Quigley, has resigned after controversy over his handling of Governor Adrian Orr's departure in March. Now, I actually believe you may be frozen, but that's all right. That's the beauty of live radio. I'll continue to talk just while we try and get Tangi back. But basically, if you missed the big news last week, the chair of the Reserve Bank, Neil Quigley, resigned after the controversy of his handling of Governor Adrian Orr, who you'll recall departed back in March. Now, Adrian Orr also is of Pacific heritage. I'd also like to mention that as well. Let's see if we can get Tangi back on air with us. Stand by. But I think it's worth talking about, because it seems as though at least the central bank is being meddled with by the government in some ways, particularly by our finance minister and economic growth minister, Nicola Willis. So it's an interesting time indeed in terms of what's going on with the Reserve Bank. If we stand by, we may be able to get Tangi back on air with us. I'd like to hear what he has to say about the Reserve Bank. Also interesting to hear what Tangi had to say about, of course, the government's move to ultimately reverse partially the wealthy foreign buyers ban, allowing, of course, foreign buyers back into the market to purchase properties of at least $5 million. Now, as you would have heard there with Tangi saying that it will squeeze the housing supply in this country, again, I go back to the point of, will it? Because it's a property with a $5 million plus price tag. There he is. I can see him back on here with us now. Hey, thank you for your time. The beauty of live radio and the beauty of technology. It seems even in 2025 we still have struggles. You can hear me?
I can. Don't know what happened there, Will, but good to be back.
No worries. All right. Look, let's continue. I want to turn to the Reserve Bank now. It seems like a complete schmozzles what's going on there. The chair of the Reserve Bank resigned, apparently over the handling of Adrian Orr's departure back in March. I don't know. Just zooming out, does it also feel like the government's meddling way too much in the central bank's affairs?
Well, it doesn't look too good. That's one thing. I mean, last week we have the Ombudsman coming out saying that actually the Reserve Bank did need to release information related to the governor's departure. And then all of a sudden we have a resignation from the chair of the bank's board with immediate effect. So you know that when it says with immediate effect that there's something a bit dodgy, it's perhaps in that particular space. So this does not look good for Christopher Luxon or for Nicola Willis. In a pretty short space of time, we've got two sort of senior financial leaders basically on their way out with a lot of questions to be asked.
Yeah, certainly. Look, let's again shift tack now. I want to talk just very briefly about to stay or not to stay in the Paris Climate Agreement. What's Labour's take on this after the ACT Party's relentless push to perhaps get out of it?
Oh, look, we need to commit to our emissions targets. That is really important. Christopher Luxon and the National Party need to basically send a very strong message that that's what they want to do as well. Instead, what we're seeing from this government is a complete reversal and change in with all the progress that's being made to tackle climate change and our emissions reductions targets, whether it's in transport, the clean car rebate, changes to the clean car standards in terms of rolling that out, scrapping $3 billion worth of money that's been tagged for climate resilience is not a good move. So we need certainty in this space, and we're not getting it from this current government.
And I think a decision like that, say New Zealand, I know in the grand scheme of things we aren't the biggest emissions, when it comes to pollution and all that jazz. But I mean, everything counts when it comes to, protecting, island nations, right?
It does. I mean, we're in this part of the world, in the South Pacific. Our Pacific neighbours and family rely on us to also be leading in this particular space wherever we can. We do that by signing up to agreements where we're able to deliver on those targets, try our best. If we think of households that are also doing their little bit, every little bit counts. And so what we're clearly seeing with Christopher Luxon and his government, and being pushed by ACT and New Zealand First, is a complete withdrawal and backtrack on that. It's not good enough. We need to have our eyes to the future, and that's why we're committed to those targets, where this current government seem to be on a pathway where that is not the case. Nurses
are out on the picket line again. They're calling for better pay and staffing conditions. Inevitably, it feels like this continues to go on and on and on. Of course, I'm assuming Labour's backing them.
Oh, look, I was on the picket line with the local nurses here outside the Palmerston North Hospital yesterday. They've got another, strike action tomorrow. Huge levels of support from people in this local community and all around the country. What they're asking for is not unreasonable. They want to have safe staffing levels. They want to have fair pay. When people front up to a hospital or other healthcare settings, they expect, to be able to be safe. The staff are just fantastic, but yet again we have Simeon Brown and the government simply saying, we're not going to actually value and we're not going to make those environments safe. It is simply disgraceful, and the government need to sort this out pronto. When will enough be enough in terms of, just on the pay end of things? I think a starting nurse's salary from what I've got in front of me is $75,000. That doesn't sound that bad, Tangi. I mean, I talk with nurses, and I talk with teachers, and I talk with firefighters who are all looking towards industrial action at the moment under this government. Because what's really important is that workers who do those vital roles are valued. I mean, we hear from a minister in Judith Collins who doesn't even know how much teachers get paid. She thinks that they get paid a huge amount of money, when in actual fact the overwhelming majority of teachers don't. So, this is about a government that needs to focus, and the question is around a government needing to focus on how they value these essential staff members and members of our community who do a fantastic job. What this government is basically saying is no, we're not interested in having staffing levels that are safe. We're not interested in having conversation or any meaningful action on fair pay, and that's simply not good enough.
Does Labour have an idea of what fair pay would look like for nurses in terms of a figure?
Well, it certainly doesn't mean going backwards. It certainly doesn't mean remaining stagnant. It means actually having a conversation and being committed to doing the right thing. All the signals from the current government that is not the ball game or the space that they're in right now.
Look, before we wrap it up, let's go there from one cookie to another. News has come out in recent days of basically, according to an OIA, New Zealand spent 8 months asking to see agreements made by Cook Islands with China. I mean, it's just the story, the gift that keeps on giving, isn't it?
Well, it is, and it is disappointing. I mean, what we really want is to have the people around the table to have the conversations, to have a really strong, productive relationship, and to get things sorted. Fantastic celebrations all around the country and back in the homeland for Te Maiwanui, the 60th. We need to make sure that this relationship continues to go strongly, and we only do that by having open dialogue, conversations between New Zealand and the Cooks, and that's my hope for the future.
Just throwing a cheeky one at you. Headline out this morning, Penny Henare keeps being asked if he's considering a Labour leadership bid. What would you make of Henare as potential leader?
Oh, look, I know the focus right now is on the Tamaki Makaurau by-election. The voter turnout has been quite low, as I understand it. Penny is our Labour candidate, doing a fantastic job up in Tamaki Makaurau, encouraging everyone to get out and vote. They can vote right now through until Saturday, and that's his focus right now. Christopher Luxon is not a leader that we want of this country. We want Chris Hipkins, and I'm 110% behind him because he's doing a fantastic job about holding this government to account, focusing on the issues that really matter right now: jobs, health, homes, and tackling with real issues, cost of living.
Labour's Tangi Utikere coming in from the beautiful metropolis that is Palmerston North. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thanks, Will. Mei taki mata.
Mei taki mata.